Kennedy.
Here.
Counselor Kempe.
Here.
Counselor Smith is absent tonight. Counselor Jones.
Here.
Counselor Pagano.
Here.
Counselor Sinchek.
Present.
We also have Supervisor Mandoff.
All right, everyone, I know it's not on our agenda, but we're gonna start with a little presentation from our city planner. If you'd like to follow along, we're gonna a presentation about the property accountability and occupancy compliance initiative. So if you'd like to follow along, we do have packets over on the table. Come on.
Yes, we'll just call it POC.
Perfect.
So good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about this idea. What I want to do tonight is give you the story behind where this came from, explain what I'm seeing here in Oneida, and show you what I think could become, and honestly, talk about what it would do and how to take it and do it the right way. I want to start with a bigger vision, because I really do believe that if this is developed carefully and implemented correctly, it could be transformative for the city of Oneida. We have a better understanding of where people are renting, who owns, manages these properties, and whether residents are living in safe and healthy conditions. We can do more than simply respond to complaints after problems have already been developed. We can encourage property owners to be more proactive, give tenants better information, and more confidence in their apartments they are choosing, and focus the city's attention on properties that repeatedly fall short. The goal is not just to create another registry or another layer of paperwork. The goal is to help create the kind of community people in Oneida talk about wanting. A safe, stable, attractive community where people can feel good about the neighborhood they live in, and where healthy, decent housing is expected in every part of the city. That's the vision behind it. Tonight I want to introduce you to the concept, hear what parts you guys think have value, hear what concerns you might have, and begin a discussion on whether this is something we should continue building together. So tonight's purpose. Tonight is not about approving a law or launching a program. I'm not asking you to approve a fee, add staff, buy software, or set an implementation date. What I'm really asking is, does this make sense? Are there parts of it you think have value? Are there parts that concern you? Is this something you think we should keep moving forward on? I want this to be the beginning of the discussion. All right, so the documents that were sent to you guys. The first is a council policy brief. This is a detailed document. It lays out the problems we're trying to address, what the initiative could include, Nadine's initial legal review, the phased approach, staffing and technology needs, and the decisions that would eventually have to come back to council. The second is the implementation legal matrix. This one is meant to be more of a quick reference document. It shows the different pieces of the proposal, what may need to be a local law, what may be handled administratively, where council action may be needed, who would like to be involved and who would likely be involved, and which items should come first or last. I'm not going to read either one to you. There's very high level detail in those. All right, so let's talk about where this idea came from. A rental registry, the idea really started with some planning and code enforcement summits that I've attended over the last year. At one of these summits, I sat in on a panel where several municipal officials talked about rental registries and property accountability programs in their communities. The former mayor of Oswego was one of the guest speakers at one, and he was fantastic. He talked about how much of a difference their rental registry had made in knowing who owns properties, improving housing conditions, addressing problem properties, and creating better neighborhood accountability. Other planners talked about programs they already had or were working to put in place. That got me interested. So I started digging in and looking at how do other municipalities handle registrations? What information do they collect? How do inspections fit into this? How do they deal with absentee owners? How do they set fees? What staffing does it take to be successful? What legal issues come with it? At the same time, I was seeing many of these same problems here in Oneida. That combination is what led me to start putting together this rental registry concept. This is not a copy of Oswego or any other city. I looked at 6 or 7 cities that were a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So I tried to take those ideas that seemed to work elsewhere and figure out what could realistically work for Oneida. So what's the problem we're trying to address? Let me be clear about something up front. Most landlords and property owners are responsible. Most take care of their properties and work with the city when something comes up. This proposal is not based on the idea that every landlord is a problem. The issue is that a fairly small number of properties can take a very large amount of city time and resources. These are the properties where we're seeing things like repeated complaints, unsafe or deteriorating conditions, reoccurring code violations, difficulty reaching owners, police and fire calls, missed inspections, and the same problems coming back over and over and over again. Our current system is mostly reactive. We get involved when somebody complains, when a violation is found, when an emergency happens, when an inspection is due, or when the issue has already reached enforcement of the courts. So what we do not have is one good, coordinated system that gives us current information and helps us see the bigger picture. So what would this initiative possibly include? This is bigger than just a rental registry. The registry is probably the first major piece, but the larger idea is to create a better property accountability system. That could include residential registrations, improving our current vacant building registry, better ownership and contact information, local contacts for absentee owners, centralized property records, better inspection coordination, and a way to focus more attention on properties with repeat problems. Later on, it could also include commercial property registration, better tracking when commercial tenants or uses of a property changes, corrective action plans, and other enforcement tools. The key point is that we would not try and do all of this at once. At the most basic level, a rental registry will tell us which properties are rentals, who owns them, who manages them, who is responsible for responding when there is a problem, how to reach that person, and whether an absentee owner has a local contact. It sounds simple, but right now, that information is not easy to get or keep current. Registration would help with inspection scheduling, notices, emergency contacts, follow-ups, and keeping more consistent records. It would not solve every housing problem. What it would do is give us basic information we need to manage this system better. The idea is not to make life difficult for responsible landlords. The idea is to have a clear process for everybody and then focus more attention on the properties that keep having serious or reoccurring issues. So we had an initial city attorney review, slide 8 if you're following. Her basic feedback was that the main registration and property accountability ideas are workable. This includes things like the rental registration, ownership and responsible party information, local contact requirements, commercial registration, centralized tracking, and reasonable fees tied to actual program costs. She also made it clear that there's still a lot of work to do before any of this becomes a law. And I do appreciate all the feedback and back and forth emails with you over the last multiple months, Nadine. We'll still need clear definitions. We'll need objective standards, notice requirements, time to correct, hearing and appeal procedures. We would need due process protections and careful legal drafting. So the legal review is encouraging, but it's not an approval or finished product. Slide 9, more legally sensitive ideas. So some of these ideas in the original framework are much more complicated. These are the things that are going to take a lot more conversation, a lot more legal review, and a lot more input. Those are things like a public property rating system, which I personally am a big fan of. Suspending or denying registrations, chronic violator classifications, looking across multiple properties owned by the same people, what we call our LLC problem. Tenant relocation requirements, rent restrictions, and eviction-related restrictions. We shouldn't start there, but it is a big piece of what I think we can do as we move forward. My recommendation is to get the basic system right first before we even consider a more complicated process. So why does it have to be phased? The city should not pass a large law and then try to figure out afterwards how to make it work. Before anything is implemented, we need to know who's going to run it, what information will we collect, how inspections will be handled, what software will we use, what will the program cost the city, how will enforcement work, how the appeals will be handled. Phased approach is extremely important. We should move only as fast as staffing, funding, technology, and legal work will allow. I'd rather build something small and build it out properly than take on something really big and it become convoluted. So what is the recommended sequence? First, I'm recommending that we review the vacant building registry we already have. Make sure it's accurate, complete, and being administered consistently and correctly. Second, let's develop a residential registration framework. Who is covered? Who could be exempt? What information would be required? How registration connects to inspections, how enforcement would work, and what the program will cost. Third, if council later approves a law and the city has the resources, begin with a controlled rollout. We're not gonna do everything at once. We're on a 3-year inspection cycle for residential properties. So a third to begin with, along with the more troubled properties, another third, another third. So at least a 3-year rollout. Get the registrations, the owner information correct, properties that already have inspection backlogs, and properties with documented problem. Once the residential side is working, we could consider commercial pieces to be added to as well. So what is the current capacity to do something like this? This is where I need to be realistic. We currently have 2 full-time code enforcement officers, 1 clerical support position, and me overseeing planning, development, and codes. The fire department has its own commercial inspection responsibilities as well. Codes currently is handling permits, plan reviews, construction inspections, housing inspections, complaints, unsafe buildings, orders to remedy, court preparation, enforcement follow-ups, and public assistance. We also have an estimated 4 to 6 month residential inspection backlog. It was well over that when I started. We're down to 4 to 5 months. The fire department also has a separate commercial backlog. Those existing responsibilities do not go away if we start a registry. So it can't just be added on top of everything else. So what's it gonna take? For this to be sustainable, I think the city would eventually need to consider up to 2 additional code enforcement officers. 1 additional officer may be enough to begin a limited phase program. 2 would give us a much better chance to reduce the backlog, focus more attention on problem properties, keep up with permits and construction inspections, and expand coverage without taking away from any existing services. I also think that 1 officer should work an alternate schedule, possibly something like Tuesday through Saturday, from 10 to 6. That would give us later day coverage, some weekend availability, and a better chance of reaching owners. A lot can be solved with conversation, but if they're working the same hours we're working, it's very hard to have those conversations. We'd also need more administrative help. A registry would create a lot of work that is not field inspection work. That would be applications, renewals, fees, notices, scheduling, records, phone calls, and database maintenance. We would also need software, legal work, training, and public outreach to make this successful. I'm not asking you to approve any of that tonight. I'm just being honest about what it would take. So fees and revenue, let's address that question directly. I've heard a lot of things about it. I've heard a lot of conversations in the community. This should not be viewed as a quick way to make money or fix a budget. The fee would have to be tied to the actual cost of operating the program. That includes staffing, software, applications, notices, mailings, records, payment processing, inspections, enforcement support, and the legal work. Right now, we do not have a final program, a completed cost analysis, a defensible fee, or a reliable revenue estimate. So I do not think we should start by picking a fee and then trying to build a program around it. We figure out what it's gonna cost us and we put the fee. Fees currently run anywhere from $50 to $150, depending on the municipality per unit that I looked at, with some caps. So what am I asking for tonight from council? I wanna keep my request simple. I'm not asking you to approve a law, a fee, staffing, software, an implementation date, or a final enforcement system. What I'm asking is, do you all think that this is worth continuing to develop? Do you want to put city time, energy, and resources into this? I'd like to hear what parts are making sense, what parts concern you, what you think should come first, what you do not want us to pursue, and what additional information you'd like to see. If there's general interest, we would keep working on it and bring the specific pieces back to council as they're developed. Nothing major would move forward without coming back to you. In closing, this is not a quick fix, and it's not a silver bullet. It will not solve every housing or neighborhood problem. It would take time, legal work, staffing, technology, funding, and a lot of coordination. But I do think it would give us better ownership information, better records, better communication, early identification of problem properties, more accountability, safer housing, and a better way to use city resources. The goal is not to punish responsible landlords. The goal is to create a system that is clear, fair, and focused on properties that repeatedly cause the greatest problems. This is really what I wanted to bring to you tonight. I'd be happy to answer your questions. I really do think this could be transformative for the city, and I appreciate your time.
My only concern is, until we have general fund stabilization, I don't think we can afford this right now. So I'm not sure, I mean, of course, I'm 1 out of 6, but I think it would be great for the city too. I don't think we can afford it right now, especially if it's only a very small percentage of properties that we're trying to address. That's my opinion.
I think we can't not afford it. I think so, seeing 51% of our housing is rental, and I think we need to regulate it, and I think it's a good starting point. I don't think it's gonna cost a lot in the beginning, but I think it's something that you should go forward with and develop, I think, my opinion.
Yeah, I'd certainly, I agree that with over 50%, it is something. And we've talked about it for a number of years, so yeah. And the phased-in approach is definitely better than some of the approaches to things we've taken over the years. So I look forward to seeing more on it.
I support moving forward and gathering some more information as well, especially since, in reviewing a lot of the property transfers in the city and around the area, there are LLCs being formed for singular properties.
A lot of them are just the address.
Just the address, and I think that probably creates a unique challenge, and currently, right, the the inspection process really only gets triggered if an application to refurbish, right? And so I think that because of that, it discourages landlords from keeping their properties up because they don't want codes coming in to see what's going on. And so if we can make that, we just want to clean it up, and even if it doesn't generate revenue in the beginning, making a cleaner, nicer place to live will increase property values, and I think we want people to want to live here. And if we do have a lot of renters, it sounds like this wouldn't be like a cost right away, that it would be phased and that we can kind of keep evaluating.
Yeah, that would be the idea.
Mhm.
And to speak to the LLC point, it's very difficult sometimes to get a hold of these folks.
Mhm.
And
We don't live here.
the only place that you can end up, like literally we are supposed to serve the Department of State because we've exhausted all of the routes. So one of our guys would have to drive up to Albany and hand them. It's a strange LLC. The way that other municipalities have gotten around that is they incentivize. So if, let's say the fee's $100 per unit, we will cap that at a certain amount if you own a lot of properties as an incentive for you to say, yes, I own all these LLCs, I am the contact, here's for this property, this property, this property. If you can incentivize the landlords to do the right thing. Sometimes you catch more, what's the expression, catch more with honey.
Well, for what it's worth, most municipalities that have a rental registration, regardless of whether the property is owned by an LLC or an individual, they have requirements under the law that there be a local contact person who is responsible, who is responsive. And if you have that in your law, then to the point that LLCs are difficult to have a contact person or have communication with, you are addressing that concern. It still may be difficult to get money as far as like if you have fines because the only asset they have is the structure and the property. But at least there's communication, which is what you're struggling in part with now.
In regard to the additional staffing needed, not so much codes enforcement officers, because you kind of need that human touch, but is there software or ways to leverage AI or other technology to reduce the need, to reduce the administrative burden, to reduce the need to hire an additional administrative assistant? Is there a way? Because it seems like, with salary and benefits is the most expensive part of the price tag.
So I would say yes, instead of needing two, we could hopefully use one with software. But you still have to have a human, you're still gonna have to process. Some people will be willing to do it online, others are gonna be old school and hand you a paper, and then things have to be verified, things like that. For sure, using AI would be very beneficial to help keep costs down. I did think about that when I was putting this all together, was one additional administrative person, because we have between 1,500 and 2,000 units, or different apartments in this city. So, you're talking thousands and thousands of applications that have to be processed. If every unit is being processed through, who lives there, who are who's coming, and those things change regularly. So when somebody moves out, there's gotta be some sort of trigger that happens, knowing that they moved out, or they're letting us know, or being proactive. Plus with enforcement, with the ones that we're having more struggles with, the state minimum is 3 years. And we're doing the minimum, as most municipalities do. However, for these targeted, difficult properties that continue to have code violation, and just terrible living conditions, we can put them on a much shorter plan, you know, but we have to have something in place that's saying that this is what we wanna do.
So we're tracking not only the owners, but also the tenants as well?
The tenants, yeah, so they would let us know who's living there, absolutely.
Oh.
Are there privacy concerns with that?
Well, that's part of what we
That's
have to
what
develop
we
the
will be
legal.
discussing it if this goes forward.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you know, there's a lot of pieces with that.
Sure, absolutely.
The idea is though, you're looking at living in Oneida and you're able to look and say, here are all the properties that have a good rating, that are compliant, that are clean, that are healthy. They're gonna be targeted, right? And so property owners are then incentivized to get on that list, to move their properties to that place. Well, eventually, you're gonna move more and more and more in that direction, and then we don't have some of the properties that we have now, because they won't be able to rent. Nobody's gonna wanna be able to rent them.
Will this also include, I know I forwarded an article, the city of Utica is getting really tough with high fines on these zombie vacant properties. So they're jacking up the fines, so that's a big incentive for property owners.
Yep.
Is
Part of
that-
the vacant registry that we have to take a look at, absolutely.
Which department tracks that now?
It's fire and codes.
Okay. Okay.
It's still
Yep.
working that out, I guess.
Alright. Would the properties currently overseen by the Oneida Housing Authority also be included in this as well?
Absolutely.
The
All,
towers?
it would, hopefully, it would be all apartments.
Regarding the Utica,
Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of litigation a few years ago when it became very popular among municipalities to have fees associated with vacant properties. And a lot of them are progressive, right? If they're 1 year, it's this amount, 2 years, it's that amount, and it keeps going up. And I know, for example, the city of Cortland was sued because the amount of the fee was just astronomical and had there was no legal basis for how much they were charging for that fee.
There was no, the city had no schedule?
Oh, there was a schedule, but it wasn't reasonable. I mean, I think at one point it was like a $10,000 a year, don't quote me on that, but it was an extremely high amount that it was like, this is just, there's no basis to get to $10,000 for an annual fee because it's vacant.
Oh, just because it was vacant?
Yes.
Oh,
The
more
vacant
than code
registry.
violations.
No, I'm talking about vacancies.
Oh.
Properties that, like, if you have a structure that's not for sale and vacant,
Yeah.
then where they said, okay, if it's vacant for a year, I'm making this up, but it might be a $500 fee. And if it's year 2, now it's $1,200, and year 3, now it's $1,600, and that was litigated because it was deemed, unreasonable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's a tough part of the job, is there's a lot of good things that we can do and push the city forward, but you gotta pay for those things, so what do you pass on to the taxpayer, and what do you try to make the city better, you know, it's a tough juggle.
If the
So I
fee is
appreciate it.
based out of what it's costing us, then it's a chance to be pretty neutral.
Yeah. And I think if we
Not
continue to
necessarily
maybe
revenue
work through this, maybe
generating,
you'll be able to find revenue numbers and whatever else, so I'm okay with pushing forward through, see what comes of it.
I think it's a good place to start, and I think it's a really good idea.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
We're gonna move right into public comment, which we don't have anybody signed up for. So we'll move right through. Next up is old business. Any old business from council?
I had something. Last time when we voted to put the new sewer project on the ballot for referendum, I have some people who have had some questions about who is gonna see it on their ballot. Is it all Oneida residents regardless of whether or not they're in the sewer district? Is it just people in the designated sewer district, whether they live in Oneida or not? I wondered how that was going to happen.
You mean who votes on it?
Yeah.
You were saying?
Yeah.
Who votes on it
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah, thank you.
Would that be the whole
It's-
municipality?
The whole municipality, yeah, inside, outside.
Because the trigger is that it's bonding for more than $1 million,
Right.
financing for more than $1 million. And so even though it may only be a portion of the city that has sanitary sewer, it is impacting the amount of debt that the city as a whole can take on, right? Because you have debt limits, so there's still an impact to the city, citywide, even absent actually having the.
So people that might live outside of Oneida, but aren't necessarily, no, they might be on the sewer line, but outside, they won't see it on their ballot.
No, they will.
They will see it on
What's
their
it
ballot.
saying?
If they're outside the city.
Outside the city, yeah.
They don't live in the
No,
city.
you
You mean outside district? or-
Yes, no, in like, in Verona, for
No.
example,
No.
or Oneida Castle, no, okay,
This is a specific
city thing.
city referendum.
Okay.
No.
Just
We don't allow other municipalities to vote on our.
Well, I didn't know if it was, cause I know with like library districts,
Unless it was the
sometimes
library.
there's.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because, but the library, that's the district
Yeah.
is actually
district.
more than just
Oh, it's not
city of
a school
Oneida.
district,
No.
not library district.
Right.
I see, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Old business? All right, we'll move on to our reports. We have Mr. Allen's here for supervisor report.
Hello. What a great coincidence that I'm here tonight when Steve made this presentation. We should be very blessed to have this gentleman working in the city. He's got some horsepower behind him. So I want to talk a little bit about planning and IDA since I'm on the planning committee. I'm also on the Madison County IDA. And this is more of a general concept because I heard Steve talk about zoning and we're talking about revenue and expenses. And, you know, everybody knows that you're bringing in money and you're spending money. There's only two ways to balance the budget. You cut your expenses or you increase your revenue. We have in central New York, in my lifetime, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right now. For those of you who've been reading the newspapers and listening to some of the news about this company coming into Clay called Micron, I just want to make sure that we, as a community, recognize that this train is coming down the track. And some municipality, many municipalities are going to reap the rewards of this investment in central New York. I spent some time with one of our CPAs who's very in tune with the business in central New York. He's been doing it for probably 60 years, and the estimates are about 50,000 jobs will be associated with this company. Everyone knows for every manufacturing job, 5 to 7 additional jobs are added. The other thing that's really important, I was talking to Dan earlier today, this is a cash flow positive thing for central New York. Meaning, you have a company that is going to grow have this huge economic impact in central New York. They're going to be selling products that go outside of our area. The cash comes in from outside. So it's going to be a huge boon for this area. We at the IDA, we've got Camoin that's working with us on the new strategic plan. Steve is going to start being included in all of our planning meetings. He's going to be involved intimately in the IDA. And I just want you guys, everyone, to understand that anything we can do to help planning, getting involved in the IDA, getting at the table, sitting at the table with these people that are coming in from outside of New York State, we need to do that because this is literally, when I say once in a lifetime, I'm not kidding. We lost probably 50,000 jobs from the 1970s through the 2000s with Carrier, the United Limiteds, and the list goes on and on. Good paying jobs. These are really good paying jobs. So I think what we're doing today, we've got some really high horsepower people that we're getting involved in the IDA, in the hub, some people from ESD that are involved. So anything that we can do as a community to open open our doors, grease the skids, and allow people to live here, work here, recreate here, I would highly recommend it. One of the things that, and this has, these are things that have to do with things that us as supervisors are talking about in these meetings with the IDA and the planning department. Because we need to make sure that we're sitting next to Ryan McMahon when he's talking about building all these things in Onondaga County. Think of it from this perspective. You have this huge corporation that's moving into this area north of Syracuse. From a geographical standpoint, you've got all of these, you can't put all these people in one spot. They've got to live, they've got to somewhere else. You can't go south because you've got the city of Syracuse. You can go west, but Radisson, Van Buren, and Baldwinsville are all doing this. They've already expanded there's huge housing complexes there. You can't go north, you can, but you get too far and you're getting 3-4 feet of snow every day, and people are not gonna wanna live there. So where are the people gonna go? They're gonna go east, okay? And we're sitting here and we have the ability to develop properties, to house people, to bring businesses that they may have to drive 30-40 minutes to get to Micron, but they might be a support business, okay? So I think everything we can do to support our planning department, make sure that we are at the table, okay? Why not us, right? So these are the things that I've been working on in the planning and the IDA. I've met these guys and talked, and at least introduce ourselves to get to know, what the plans are. And I can tell you that you guys sitting on the dais right now have the opportunity, okay, we have the opportunity as a group for the next 2-3 generations to create a city that is livable, is beautiful, and the revenue side of it is going to expand in a multiplicative environment, not additive. So I'm just, that's sort of a soapbox thing, but we're working on it behind the scenes. But today I wanted to bring it to you guys and gals and let you know that we need to start playing offense, okay? And I think with some of the stuff you see here from the planning department, that will create an environment where people are welcoming to prospective employers and prospective residents of the city. Okay, thanks. And sales tax is up, by the way. I don't have the percentage.
I'm gonna secede my mayor's remarks tonight. I didn't really have anything. We're already going a little crazy, so I'll let City Manager Lovell do his report.
I'll try to keep this brief, just to say, it's great to be back. Thank you, Steve Vonderwhite, for being active city manager designation last week. By all accounts, you did a fantastic job, so a big thank you to you. And the rest of my department staff heads as well, who helped out here and there. So it's much appreciated, and I sincerely want to thank each and every one of them. Beyond that, I just had a quick point of clarification I wanted to throw in here. So as we begin development for the 27 budget, the council is being asked to introduce the annual tax cap override local law, along with associated state environmental quality review, the secret documentation. And I want to emphasize that these are procedural steps required by New York state law. The tax cap override does not increase taxes in and of itself, nor does it adopt a city budget. Rather, it reserves the council's legal authority to adopt a budget later this year should circumstances require a tax levy above the statutory tax cap. Many municipalities will adopt this local law each year as a prudent budgeting practice. Likewise, the environmental assessment form of the EAF as a standard secret document required whenever council considers adopting a local law. Because this action is administrative in nature and has no physical impact on the environment, the council will also be considering a negative declaration under seeker, indicating that the proposed local law will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. I had a number of folks ask me about that in the agenda, and I wanted to clarify that so everybody kind of understood why that's in there and that negative declaration is. Beyond that, I'm all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for July seventh, 2026.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? No abstentions? Motion passed. Can we get the approval of warrant number 14?
Resolve that warrant number 14, including checks and ACH payments totaling $2,297,043.74, as audited by the voucher committee, is hereby approved for payment in the usual manner at the discretion of the comptroller.
Motion.
Any discussion?
Two big drivers for that number was, a little over $1.5 million towards Glenmore and, over 300 for our annual insurance renewal.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, can I ask a question about the insurance renewal? Were you by any chance gonna talk about meeting with Haler, Fryer and Kuhn and?
Yep, so I met with them, I met with Stoddard for cybersecurity, our general liability as well. So all three of the insurances are now under review. We do have some preliminary numbers coming back. I'm pushing back a little bit on that, so we're not quite done with our negotiating phase yet with where we're gonna land. So, but once we have those numbers, I'll present it to council and we'll come forward as
It's like re-engineering deductibles, trying to find some savings on premium, or is this 300,000, are we paying the renewal premium now?
So that's the renewal premium we're paying now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're working on it, all of those, they have a mandate for me to try to reduce cost of the board. So what I'm really trying to do is get down to the nitty gritty with some of these packages that we have and they're offering. We're looking at every single line item right now in the insurance, so.
Great.
Yeah, we're just gonna do our best to try to hem and haw a little bit with them and we'll see what we come up with. But once I have those finalized numbers, I'll absolutely present it to council.
Okay, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? It's approved. I'll now turn the meeting over to our city clerk, Cindy Lipper.
Item number 1, monthly reports, receive and place on file the monthly reports from the city department heads.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. I see in the column, and again, I'm understanding the budget, there's the original total budget and then there's the current total budget. They don't always match. How does that happen?
So, is it like used up to date for this year, right? Is that what you're looking at? How much is used up?
No,
Year to
some of the
date?
original total budget, is lower than what the current total budget is. And I think some of it is money that moves around, like the salt and sand we voted for. I see that in there. And there's some other items too where they're just, the current total budget is different. Sometimes like money moves around within a department, and I understand that. But I just wondered how and under what circumstances does that current total budget change from the original total budget?
Is there a line specifically that we can look at?
Well, I think looking at it cumulatively, looking at the total, for the original total budget versus the current total budget, it puts our deficit, our general fund at a deficit of $265,000, and then a little bit more. And so our current total budget puts us in debt. So I wondered, is that going to change and how does that happen?
I don't know what you're looking at, I guess, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the monthly report and so.
What page, is there a specific?
Oh, that's a great question. It is, hold on. General, here it is, what page, it's the last page of, I don't have a number on it, my font comes out very tiny on my printer when I do this. But it's the last page of the expenses, that starts with training at the top, and it's a smaller one, toward the end. So down where it says, surplus or deficit, the, current total budget says,
Page 8.
thank you, has us at a $265,000, sort of deficit compared to what our original total budget was.
I don't see that.
See right here? Yeah, it's tiny. So it's like right,
I guess that's the wrong page now.
can we show you? Okay,
Yeah.
it's really tiny, I apologize.
No, you're fine.
But it's like right there. So there's the original total budget, and then the current total budget is there. And I just didn't know why. So it's in.
Oh, I see it, there.
Yeah, me too.
So it's general fund
So it is
surplus.
page 8.
So original total budget.
putting money into the line like that. I can
Okay.
ask her
Yeah.
specifically, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any, specific questions too like that, I'm happy to field them.
Yeah,
I can
thanks.
find out for you before council meeting.
Might be something how Leanne writes or
Okay.
puts things in the report, I have no idea.
Well, our healthcare line is an infamous one, because money comes in and out of that all the time, so you'll see the general
So maybe it
fluctuation in
reads-
that. That was rise, that's a specific example, but
Okay.
I don't know why the total, I have a feeling it's the cumulative of all that moving around, is why that's like that, but I wanna be 100% sure. it's like
Sure,
that.
thank you.
Okay. Anybody else, any discussion on monthly reports? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions? Motion's passed.
Item number 2, agreement, authorize the city manager to sign an agreement with Bonadeo & Co. LLP for professional consulting services for fiscal 2025.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions? Motion's passed.
Item number 3, introduce local law. Introduce a local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C, and schedule a public hearing for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 at 6:30 PM, Common Council Chambers, 109 North Main Street.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
So we're not approving the tax cap now, we just open it up to public
Correct,
discussion.
correct, that is correct, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions? Motion's passed.
Item number 4, agreement, authorize the city manager to sign an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management for a 2026 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD for the fire department to replace a rescue truck that was taken out of service due to an accident.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a couple questions. How much did we receive from the insurance on the damaged one?
Just shy of
44,000.
45,000.
Okay, is that and where did that go?
That's in the vehicle reserve fund, I believe is the name of it.
Yeah,
The comptroller has.
yeah, it is now. It's vehicle reserve fund line. So the idea was that the money that we recover from that, we would put towards the lease agreement.
And is that what we're doing?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it mitigates that cost, correct.
Now, we already have a pickup truck, correct?
We have a pickup truck that's just a squad is what we call it, and is used for day-to-day operations. We put our, wildland firefighting equipment in the back of it.
And do we field that much for wildfires?
Luckily, no.
That's a good,
But
okay.
there's, like anything in the fire service, that's, we plan for the worst and hope it doesn't happen.
But we couldn't convert that to our rescue vehicle,
It's,
save money?
converting that, no, because this new lease is a completely separate, configuration on the rear of the truck. So we basically, you have to rip off the bed of the current truck and buy a utility type box to put on the back of that. So it'd be kinda counterproductive, I guess. And we still need, we're down a truck right now, so we would still need another replacement to do the day-to-day operation stuff with that pickup truck.
How have you been getting by for the last 3 months?
I am using,
They're using his car.
Chief
Yeah.
gave it
yeah,
was-
they're using my chief's vehicle as the rescue, which is the Tahoe, which is towards the end of its, life as well. So we're limping through. I'm currently driving one of the, former code's pickup truck that has no lights or anything on it. So theoretically, I can't respond in that vehicle. There's no lights, there's no radio or anything like that, so been holding off on doing anything with that until we have a better plan of what direction we're going.
So there's no way the equipment that you'd want in the rescue truck could just go in the compartments for the wildfire truck, just to get you through until budget season?
There's no compartments on the current pickup just your normal, 3/4 ton pickup truck with 4 doors on it.
And then you said you'd still
That's
be
all
another
it is.
vehicle anyway.
So they,
The new one will have actual compartments for equipment and things like that.
Yeah, I saw that, okay.
yeah, the pickup is worth of taking barricades out, hauling equipment back from a fire where they just load the hose in, or with the wild land, they've got a tank they slide in the back that has hoses on it.
Is the insurance money we're getting back reflected in the contract? I don't have it in front of me, that we got in our packet, but is that 44,000 listed there in that quote for the lease for this vehicle?
No, this is just the price of the vehicle, it's not listed in
Okay.
the applying that.
And so we're offsetting that cost, so we keep that 44, they just give us the bill.
Okay.
We budget for it internally, say, we're gonna use this money for paying that lease.
Okay.
It's on that budget line you mentioned.
Yes, the vehicle reserve line,
Is that the one that like the departments share?
yes.
Yep.
We just,
Yep, okay.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions?
No,
Motion's passed.
Item number 5, budget transfers. Approve the budget transfers and amendments as outlined by the comptroller or a third party who will be retained by the city of Oneida to perform such services.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
There's one item I'd like to point out in here, is a $30,000 transfer for unemployment insurance. I think it's important to recognize that, both the city's labor attorney and myself fought this in court, with a former employee who resigned and then claimed unemployment. We did not think that was appropriate. New York State ruled against us. So
They
unfortunately.
always do.
so do we self-insure for unemployment insurance?
I don't believe so. I don't think we're self-insured at all.
So is this unemployment insurance or an unemployment payment?
This is unemployment insurance. This is the payment we make to them to cover the cost of the employment claim. That comes out of our general fund now because we didn't budget for this amount of money beyond a salary line.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, any abstentions? Motion's passed. Any new business from council?
Just one quick reminder, for DPW, well, the residents, when paving season's going on, there's disruption to green waste pickup. Schedule gets thrown off a little bit, so, because they're shifting all their people over to either milling or paving, so. Schedule may be off a day or two or a week, but they will be around.
Appreciate that. Every year, a lot of green waste calls during paving season. Any other new business? Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? See you guys in a couple weeks.